So Beyond Light is here, and our Armor 2.0 is kind of more like Armor 2.5. In this video, I'll be guiding you through all the changes so you can confidently build your character for endgame activities. Welcome to my channel, my name's Abby, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy Destiny 2 guides and walkthroughs. As always, timestamps will be included below if you're a seasoned vet and you want to jump around. First, let's quickly talk about power level. Your power level is located here on your character screen. The total number is the average of all 8 pieces, your weapons and your armor, plus your artifact for that season, which is located down here. You increase your artifact power level by earning XP and your gear power level through your loot drops. These also include powerful and pinnacle rewards. It's important to note that just because an armor piece is a higher powered level doesn't necessarily mean it is better. However, you do want to keep those items as you're leveling up, as they will dictate your overall power level drops. Destiny 2 looks at the items in your inventory, your vault, and in your postmaster to determine your max equipable power level. A quick way to figure out your current power level is to hover over an armor piece in your season pass. You can also use third-party websites like Destiny Item Manager and Power Bars, which I'll link down below. Another reason you don't want to get rid of lower power level items that have good stats is because you can eventually infuse those pieces with your higher power level items. Normally, this is going to cost you an upgrade module, as you can see here. However, if you are infusing the same item, for instance, both of these Nia Thonis breathers, you can go in here, infuse the higher level one, and it only costs you 1,000 glimmer. However, as you're leveling up to the soft cap, you don't want to be infusing every single piece of gear because you will quickly run out of resources. You want to try and go as long as you can, hold out as long as you can before you start infusing things. And the only reason you really want to start infusing things is if you are taking on endgame activities that has a higher recommended power level. You can purchase these upgrade modules from Banshee, and you can also earn them from his weekly bounties, so I would recommend picking those up from him as well. Each season, the power level cap is raised. Initially, you'll be able to increase your level with world drops, then powerfuls, and finally pinnacle rewards to hit the max power level. Introduced with Beyond Light is the ability to get additional random powerful drops just by completing activities like Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. This has made it extremely easy to increase your power level. You don't have to do a specific number of activities every week and have a limit on your powerful drops. You can just play Gambit forever and get powerful blues and legendary items that are going to boost your power and help you get up to the next level. So what is the soft cap and hard cap? Let's take a look at the Season of the Hunt as an example, the current season that we're in. Right now, you can get blues and random drops just by playing the game up to power level 1200. Once you hit 1200, you're going to need to complete powerful activities or get those powerful drops through the playlist activities that I mentioned to get you up to 1250. 1250 is the hard cap, and then 1260 is your pinnacle cap. That's what you need those pinnacle activities for. You're not going to get any drops above 1250 unless you complete those pinnacle drops, and then you can go back and kind of fill out the rest of your inventory once your power level has increased. In addition to your power level, each piece of gear also has a power limit. You can take a look at this by pressing the gear stats. For me, that's left trigger, and it'll show you your current power, your power limit, and then the seasonal power cap, which is 1260, which we discussed earlier. You can also go into details, hover over the power level right here, and it's going to show you the power limit of that item. So for instance, these holdfast grips, which are from last season, have a current power limit of 1360, which means after 2 seasons, these gloves will not infuse any higher than 1360. Armor that is dropping in this current season, however, is a 1410 max power limit, which means that we will get 3 more seasons out of it before you cannot infuse it any higher. So just make sure you check your pieces before you're thinking about masterworking it, because they may be from an older season. Also do note that raid armor is always going to update to the max power limit. If you acquire it in a new season, you're going to be able to hold on to it even further. Besides power level, the next thing we want to check out on our armor piece is the stats. We've got 6 different stats here. And each class has a stat that controls their class ability cooldown. For Hunter, that is mobility. As you can see here, our class ability cooldown is also listed. As we go up in our total stats up to 100, it's going to lower the cooldown of our class ability. For Titan, that's going to be resilience. So you'll notice an extra piece of text there for your class ability cooldown, and for Warlock it is recovery. Each of these character stats is only going to increase in tiers of 10. So for instance, to lower my class ability cooldown for Hunter, I need to increase my mobility to 80 before that number is going to go down. Same with your shield capacity increase will only go up if we get to that next 50. So your goal here with your entire build is to make these stats as flat as possible. Anything above that flat 60, 70, 80 is wasted stats in terms of your cooldown. So for instance, on my discipline here, I have 74. Those 4 points are not doing anything towards my grenade ability cooldown. So if I could find a piece that would lower that to 70 and possibly boost up my strength by 5, then we would have a better allocation of stats. Now on your armor pieces, you're also going to notice a total number at the bottom there. From my experience, you can get a total stat range on your armor from 46 up to about 69. I've never seen a 70 total stat piece, but I've heard rumors of it being true out in the wild. Exotics will most likely drop with higher average stats than most. However, you may get lucky on some legendary pieces and unlucky on some exotics. I would recommend keeping your exotic pieces that you get to drop from engrams or from Xur, because Xur is now dropping higher stats than the collection book rolls. Because if you pull these out of your collection book in the exotics, which you can do once you've already acquired those armor pieces, you'll notice that the stats are extremely low. For instance, the Celestial Nighthawk here is a total stat of 50. When we look at my actual Celestial Nighthawk that I got to drop, you can see that it is actually 65. This is adding 5 mobility here, and then the Masterwork is actually adding 12. So originally this piece was 65, then we added a +5 mod, and then we also Masterworked it, which is going to give it 12 points. If you're looking out for high stat armor, you can earn those from your Prime Engrams. Always check the armor that you get from Prime Engrams. Additionally, with Beyond Light, you can get Prime Engram, so high stat armor, from doing your 8 bounties with Shaxx, Zavala, and Drifter. You can also get high stat armor from different event rewards, your season pass rewards. The last armor set in the season pass is always going to be high stat armor. Whether it's in the stats that you want is up in the air. However, this season, the Hunter helmet and the Hunter arms are very good, have a lot of points in recovery and intellect. So that's definitely a way to get high stat armor. You can also acquire them from raids, trials, Iron Banner, and in Beyond Light, you can get them from Empire hunts at higher difficulties. If you have the Sabotage perk unlock, you'll be able to see the playlist over here to the right, the Empire Hunt the Warrior. You can see at different levels, you can get high stat armor. It's rare, and then uncommon, and then common. All right, so now that we talked about kind of the anatomy of the armor piece, let's talk about what makes an armor piece good. So first, I always look for high stats in the categories I care about. For my Hunter, that's mobility, recovery, and intellect. Those are the stats that I want to boost the most. Unless I'm wearing a Dragon Shadow chest piece, then I only want 50 mobility, but that's kind of its own specific build. So let's take a look at mobility, recovery, and intellect. I usually look at my armor pieces, and if I have a decent amount in those categories, discipline is another stat that I really like to look at as well, especially if I'm running Stasis Hunter. I normally run the Dustfield grenades for the slow and the increased slow time and linger fragment. So a piece like this chest piece, this Sovereign Vest, is amazing. I've had this for longer than this season. I think I got it last season. It's got 20 into mobility and 29 into intellect. It only has 9 into recovery, but it's got 2 in everything else, and it's a total of 64 stats. So the first thing I look at is, does it have stats in the categories I care about? That's a yes. And then second, I look for high total stats. Now I still would keep a piece that had lower total stats if it was in the categories that I really liked. So for example, this Holdfast vest has 19 recovery, 22 intellect. Now it's only a 59 total stats, but for me, I still keep it because it's got 40 plus stats in the categories that I like. All right, next up, we're going to go over the energy of the armor piece. So each piece of armor comes with a set energy affinity, solar, arc, or void. The energy affinity that is on your armor piece is going to determine which mods you can equip here down below. There are specific ones that only go on arc pieces or void pieces or solar. You can change the affinity of your armor piece, but it is going to cost you materials. This can get pretty pricey as you increase the energy of your armor piece, so make sure you kind of set in which energy affinity you want before you start upgrading, if you can help it. Once you masterwork an item, changing the affinity is going to cost you an additional Ascendant Shard, so make sure you are locked in on which energy affinity you want before you masterwork. You can increase the energy of your armor to allow for more mods. This is going to cost you materials as you go up in energy. Initially, it's only going to be glimmer and legendary shards, and then you will need enhancement cores and then enhancement prisms, and then finally an ascendant shard to masterwork. The higher you increase the energy, the more mods you're going to be able to slot here down below. You can see each mod has its own cost, and that will fill up those bars up top. When you masterwork an item all the way to 10 energy, you're also going to get the benefit of a +2 stats to each of these 6 stats, as you can see over here on the side. So this is how people are getting to a really high total stat. They're taking an already high stat piece of armor, they're masterworking it to get 12 more, and then they're also putting in an additional stat mod to give an additional 10, and then they may have something like this, Powerful Friends, that's going to give you an additional 20 mobility on top of that. We also have Radiant Light that gives you a 20 strength, and there's some other mods in there as well. There are also some Charged with Light mods that will take away stats, so make sure you keep that in mind when you're slotting all of your mods. My recommendation for upgrading your armor's energy, if you have the materials and you need more points to add mods for endgame activities, I will go ahead and do it, but I wouldn't recommend going past 7 energy until you have a nice stash of enhancement prisms. You can now purchase these prisms from Spider for 400 legendary shards. However, I would highly advise against that. I would advise running through Pit of Heresy for a Masterwork Dreambane armor piece. When you dismantle it, you actually get 6 prisms. You can save the boss checkpoint, do it on all 3 characters, and get your 18 prisms for the week. You can also focus on running Nightfalls, and now with Beyond Light, you can also run higher difficulty Empire hunts and get a couple prisms from that as well. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the Armor 101, the basics of armor, stats, how to build your character, what to look for, how to power level, all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. Up next is going to be my armor mods video. I'll leave a link here at the end if you guys want to go on over to that and learn a little bit more about your armor. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.